Guys, welcome back to Critical Flick. Today we are finally going to be giving our final thoughts on Candy from Hulu.
Yeah, so we finished up the series. We were away on vacation, so that's why it's a little delayed. But we wanted to give you our thoughts on what we thought of overall of the miniseries.
So as you saw from our first review, this tells the story of Candy Montgomery, played by Jessica Biel, and how she was wrapped up in a murder involving her best friend at the time, and how everything ended up playing out. So obviously you saw in the first few episodes that came out that it really focuses on her and her relationship and how her affairs kind of start rolling in and how everything happens.
Yeah, so in the final episode, especially the last episode, it really focuses on the trial and, what actually occurred. I believe it's only 5 episodes, so the whole time you're leading up to, how did she die?
So one of the criticisms I had of the show after watching the first few episodes is that it's a little slow, and I think the fact that you already know where it's going to end in many ways takes away from some of that suspense. There are a lot of suspenseful moments in this show, but at the end of the day, you kind of know where it's going. You know what happens right from the first episode.
Mm-hmm.
So while you have these interesting interpersonal relationships and this drama building with Candy, her husband, with the affair that's happening, everything that's going on, you kind of know where it's going. So even though maybe it's well acted and well produced and everything about it as far as the filmmaking aspects of it are good, I think the storytelling, in a way, falls a little flat from that lack of suspense.
On the finale, we are all centered around the trial of Candy and what happened with Betty. Candy has a hard time speaking in front of everybody, and her lawyer keeps trying to push her, tell her what happened, because before the trial happened, there is a secret revealed with Candy. She reveals that she has PTSD when she was a child from her mother, and this one shushing mechanism set off Candy, and she goes through therapy and everything. So this is like her lawyer's defense of what happened with her and why she attacked Betty.
See, while I think that's an interesting aspect of the show, an interesting aspect of the case, I think the fact that this was spaced out over a mini-series, it just wasn't necessary, because it feels like they really wanted to rush a lot of things in the first episode and the last episode. So this really could have just been 2 parts. It feels like the middle section of this miniseries is rather slow. It's a build. I understand why they're building it, but when you already know the payoff and you already know what's happening, it just falls kind of flat for me. Though I do think the acting is really well done. Like Noelle said, Jessica Biel being up on the stand, the tension. Jessica Biel going from this happy-go-lucky housewife in the beginning, wanting to have a fair, wanting to have a little bit of fun, to becoming someone who gets wrapped up in killing their best friend, essentially. So there is a nice range to be shown there, but I think storytelling-wise, I don't know, this thing's a little muggy for me.
Yeah, and also leading up to the last episode, it also shows Candy and Betty's storyline, how they got closer, how her daughters became friends, and Candy, leading up to the pool incident where she, is having her daughter, Betty's daughter, come over to the pool. You kind of see that whole thing. So basically, Candy kind of feels guilty in a sense that she's having an affair with Betty's husband and goes out of her way to go talk to Betty to try to spice up their relationship, her husband and her. And that relationship's a little weird at first, but she just keeps doing it because she wants to help, but she's also doing something bad.
Yeah, so that's one of the things that makes the show more compelling than I think it would be without it, is Jessica Biel's performance and kind of, like I said, the interpersonal relationship with Candy and the world around her. Because you do find out, obviously later on at the very end of the show, kind of what's going on with her behind the scenes and her history and her mind. And I feel like if you would have had glimpses of that a little more of that leading to something is there behind the veil with her, it would have been more compelling. But it feels like some of the characters are doing things that just don't make sense. It feels very rushed. Some of the dialogue's a little clunky when they're interacting with each other.
Like even in the last episode, you're going everything from Candy's perspective of what happened with Betty. So I think that's the thing where it's making the whole story a little wonky, because it's all from her perspective. Yeah, we don't know what Betty thought.
So I guess in the way she could be like an unreliable narrator. So that does work on those levels. And I do like that they do leave a little bit of ambiguity, because she has these visions of Betty when she's in the courtroom, kind of saying that she's lying, she's not telling the truth. So it does leave that open to maybe this isn't the truth we're being shown, and maybe the timeline is completely different. So I do like that aspect of it. But I don't know, just at the end of the day, it feels like it's a pretty simple story, as tragic as it may have been, but it just doesn't feel like it's made for a miniseries. Like I feel like we had like a little limited run, like maybe 2-episode show, or even like a made-for-TV movie. The acting's there, the cinematography's there. I think all the technical aspects of it are there.
I think it was fine. I feel like there should have been 1 episode cut, maybe in the first episode not show the whole incident with Candy covered in blood.
Yeah, I think that was probably my major criticism of the show, is that after the first episode, I knew almost entirely where the rest of the show was going to go.
Mhm.
And I didn't need to read up about the case. I didn't need to even know what was happening because it's all there explained for me a little bit. Maybe there's a little subtlety there and you are kind of figuring out what happened, why she killed her. But seeing her go over to Betty's house, she's covered in blood. You find out Betty's dead. I mean, obviously she killed Betty. I mean, that's what happened.
I also understand it was a very brutal murder at the time because she killed her with an axe. So, like,
yeah, it's true. Maybe it's just the desensitization of seeing so many other shows that are so more violent, so many true crime podcasts and cases. You hear about these horrible things that happen in the world. We had just watched the John Wayne Gacy documentary like the week before. Maybe I was just like mellowed out to everything that's happening in the world, and maybe that's why it didn't work for me.
This is our thoughts of the show Candy on Hulu. Let us know down below what you thought of it. I did find out there is going to be another show focusing on Candy. I think it's by HBO, coming out later this year.
It's really interesting.
So it is very interesting that this case's story has taken on legs and like it has two like miniseries in a sense. So yeah, but I mean, I thought it was interesting. The acting was good, like Brian said. Story was solid in some sense. I just loved the set direction and everything.
Yeah, production design was really good. It really takes you back to that time period. But let us know what you think. If you're more in my camp where you kind of were like underwhelmed by it or you really did enjoy it like Noelle did. I've been watching another series called The Staircase, which I'll be reviewing, and I've reviewed the first couple episodes of it. And I feel like that show really handles the ambiguity of that type of situation a little bit better than this show did. But that show is like this show is very, I don't know, it feels more like a more cinematic. It doesn't feel like it's trying to be a true to life kind of show. When that one feels like maybe it's trying a little bit more. Yeah. So I'd like to see your comments down below. Remember to like and subscribe, and see you guys next time.
Bye.